Hey, me Matt here, and yesterday I did Summerslam 1989 and 1997. So today let's do Summerslam 2003. Holy shit, 20 years ago. Ah, boy. I remember this well, I do. It was one of those things where the lead ups to this show was actually very cool. And yeah, really thought that this was, even though this was a shitty year, it was actually a good pay per view. And yes, I did actually rent this on pay per view, and I had it on VHS. I'm not quite sure if I still have it, but yeah, here we go. You have the pre-show on Sunday Night Heat. You have Rey Mysterio, who defeated Shannon Moore for the Cruiserweight title. Now, this was cool. I mean, this was obviously the WCW type version, which was revamped the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. And Shannon Moore, I think, you look at the guy who was in Matt Hardy's corner, and, the match that happened where Ray did lose to Matt at WrestleMania 19. But it was like, this match was pretty cool. I mean, Ray did beat Matt at a SmackDown. So, I'm not quite sure how long he was the Cruiserweight Champion, but I believe it was a lot better than when he was the World Champion, my opinion. Shannon Moore definitely had a good career in WCW and WWE and elsewhere. So, yeah, very good match. I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw this 20 years ago, but I could imagine it was still a good match. But yeah, we won. You have the show that started off with La Resistance, with Rene Dupree and Sylvain Grenier, with Rob Conway, and they defeated the Dudley Boys. And yeah, this was a good match, and kind of surprising too, seeing the Dudley Boys lose here, because you would think they were going to win, but La Resistance was one of those teams built from France. The French Canadian guys from Quebec, Rene Dupree, was one of the youngest wrestlers at that time. I think it was like 19, and don't know how old Sylvain was, but yeah, this was a good match. La Resistance won, like I said, and I don't know where they went from there. I just thought it was pretty cool to see. It was almost like, you know what, and I just thought of this now, the Rougeau brothers, the fabulous Rougeaus, even though Sylvain and Rene were not actual brothers, they were portrayed as French guys that were actually from Quebec. Now, I mean, the Rougeaus were French Canadians that pretended to be American, but it's kind of similar, maybe. You've got A-Train with Sable versus The Undertaker. This match, again, surprising results, but this was cool. They went all over the ring. There was a point where you had Sable, who was going to get one over on Undertaker, so he made like he was going to do a choke slam, and that was pretty interesting in itself. Obviously, you wouldn't see that ever again. but he was gonna do a choke slam, and Stephanie McMahon's music hit. Now they had a thing back then, so it was basically, yeah, A-Train ended up getting the win anyways. And again, you look at their match at WrestleMania with the Big Show and eventually Nathan Jones. It was a pretty cool match here, and yeah, Undertaker picked up the win at WrestleMania, so it's natural to see A-Train get the win here. So here's a Falls Count Anywhere match. Shane McMahon versus Eric Bischoff, and this match was, you have Eric, who is a black belt, so it was cool to see what he could do, and Shane being the glorified stuntman that I claim him to be. I mean, he was a good wrestler too, but he was always in matches like this, so this was a really good match. There was a point where Shane got the upper hand. He was on the outside beating up Eric, and all of a sudden he gets a chair shot to the back, and the camera zooms in, or out rather, on Jonathan Coachman. Okay. And see, at the time I didn't fucking understand why that had to happen. I mean, Jonathan was a commentator, so yeah, I mean, look, he was a good heel, I will say that, but at the time it really confused me. But you have the two guys beating Shane up. All of a sudden, the co-GM, Stone Cold Steve Austin, came up to the ring. He was jacking a bit with Jonathan Coachman, and basically Jonathan's like, "You can't touch me," and Shane throws Eric into Jonathan, who hits Stone Cold, so naturally Stone Cold hits the stunner, and then the match continues. I believe he hit Bischoff for the stunner, which is kind of apropos, and then Shane McMahon did pick up the win. But a lot of things were used in this match that I thought were pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, besides that confusing, later on you'd have Sean Morley in Eric's corner, Johnny Nitro or John Morrison, John Hannigan, his debut in WWF or whatever, so that was pretty cool. Got Eddie Guerrero, who defeated Chris Benoit, Rhino and Tajiri in a fatal four for the US title. This was a good match too. And yeah, Chris had done like 3 German suplexes. You have Rhino do a GOD! 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 At some point. But, Eddie ended up getting the win, retaining the US title. And so this was a pretty good match. Tajiri also a very good wrestler, and all 4 of these guys had been in ECW at one point. Yeah, I know Chris and Eddie were WCW guys as well, but it was a pretty cool match to see. And I mean, I think the match at WrestleMania wasn't that good. It was better than I remember, but it was still not that good. But it was nice to see a match for this title here anyways. You have a WWE Championship match. You got Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar rematch from WrestleMania again. I find all these matches were some of them anyways, whatever. This was pretty cool. The lead up to this match though, I mean, Brock was heel during WrestleMania, ended up getting injured, turning face, and then a couple weeks later in a steel cage match on SmackDown, Kurt Angle turns face at WrestleMania afterwards, and then Brock turns heel. Yeah, it was fucked up. I don't know. I really don't know what happened there. But anyways, yeah, so this was a good match. They both had beat the shit out of each other, obviously. Suplexes. There was a point where McMahon came out. Now, kind of interesting to note that it was his 50th birthday, so at least there's the thing. I can't think it was a Stone Cold, one of the DVDs, where that was mentioned. But you have the match end with Kurt Angle doing the ankle lock to Brock, and then you have basically Kurt do the ankle slam to Vince on a steel chair. So, happy birthday, Vince, I guess. You have a no-holds-barred match. You got Kane versus Rob Van Dam. This was cool. And I mean, one of those things where it was like interesting to me where you have these two guys where a tag team, they had the championships. You got the match where if Kane lost, it was Kane losing to Triple H, he would have to unmask, which he did. Then he turns heel, and then the whole thing happens with JR, and yeah, Rob Van Dam and them feud. This match was pretty good. You knew Kane was going to go over. I mean, Rob Van Dam used everything, ladder, just everything, chairs, event Terminator at some point. But yeah, you kind of figured. Yeah. I kind of really thought about doing a rant on this. I'm pretty sure I did the last time I reviewed this because it was just the stupidest thing ever, you know. There's the Elimination Chamber match. You got Triple H, Goldberg, Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton, and Kevin Nash, who I believe was or already did the Punisher movie. But this match was pretty cool. You have Kevin Nash getting eliminated by Chris Jericho, and then you got, Randy Orton getting eliminated. Shawn Michaels by Goldberg. Actually, Goldberg eliminated pretty much Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho. I think he eliminated Randy Orton as well. I can't remember, but Triple H was the last one. He didn't leave the cage, and he's taunting Goldberg. He's even doing this. And the cage opens, they do wrestle for a while. I didn't see it happen at the time. Ric Flair on the outside takes a sledgehammer, throws it into the ring. Triple H hits Goldberg over the head as Goldberg was going to do the spear. And I know that Goldberg did eventually get the world title from Triple H, but it was just like, really? And then after the match, Evolution came in and beat the shit out of him while he was tied up on the ropes. But really? I mean, to me, that was just utter bullshit. It really was. Anyways, this was a really good show, like I said, and one of those things where it's like I said, 2003 was the shits. I actually enjoyed the feuds leading up to SummerSlam. I really did. I thought this was pretty cool. I mean, at the time, I did flip out at the main event, but you know, it is what it is. Anyways, talk to you later. Bye.
So you know that them cutting WCW was a long time coming. But I think that there's this myth out there that Jamie Keller is
Gnarly.
that's why he took pleasure in cutting WCW. I don't think that's the case at all. Because if you look at some of his earlier interviews, like